The following is a Productions original series.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Vincent along with Eric Aguilar. Yes, he is back somewhere. He was here for the interview, but as we record the open and close, I can't find him, but maybe he'll hop in here in a little bit. I'm a polio survivor, crutch user, and brace user for years, and then transitioned into a wheelchair user over the last 20 years. What did I do this week? Not a whole lot. Kind of the usual stuff that comes up. Board meetings, birthday celebration continued. I think this is the longest birthday celebration I've had in a while. Usually at my age, a day is more than enough, but it was nice. I just kind of spread it out with a bunch of different people in my life that I love so much and had a great time spending time with them. Labor Day weekend was nice. Had my buddy Phil over for a barbecue, and we enjoyed that, watched some Paralympics, and just enjoyed the day off. It was a nice day. And then spent some time producing highlights for Walk and Roll Live of the Paralympics. And that pretty much wraps up my week. So that's all we've got. Thanks to Rebecca Valenzuela for sharing her story with us. Loved her energy, everything about her. So we'll have her back on. I think I'm getting a lot of comments and people enjoyed her too. So we'll have her back on in some other capacity, maybe a guest host when Eric goes off to do his learning. Coming up today, it's an interview with Ed Flores, a Spina Bifida survivor. Met him on the Rolling Start Wheelchair Support Group, as I met a number of people on that group, and we're going to have a few of them on, at least a few of them on this show. Got some great stories I could tell to hear. And as we head to the break with Aguilar Professional Training, don't forget to like, subscribe, or share wherever you listen. Thank you. We'll be right back.
At Aguilar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. Aguilar is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with Aguilar Professional Training and witness the growth of your business.
You're listening to Walk and Roll Live Disability Stories.
Welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. I am Doug Vincent, and we've got Eric Aguilar back from his educational little sojourn. So welcome back, Eric. And we've got our guest for today. And we're going to start off by getting an introduction from him in his own words, your name and where you're from and your disability status.
Hello, Doug and Eric. My name is Eddie Flores. I am 44 years old, born and raised in the Los Angeles area. My family, my parents, they were immigrants from El Salvador. I have a pretty unique family. I was raised with my older brother and my younger brother, and I also have 4 younger siblings.
Very nice. And let everybody know your disability status.
Yes. I was born with Spina Bifida. L4, L5 is my lesion level. And I also have a shunt. Most people with Spina Bifida have a shunt. People ask me all the time if I can feel it. And my answer is usually if I can feel something related to my shunt, that means that there's an issue with it, meaning I need it surgically fixed.
Okay. So maybe you're one of the first. I think we've had maybe a couple others, but most people that we have on who are disabled have come to it through an injury or maybe a mishap in surgery or different things like that, some gunshot wounds. But very few of our guests that have been on Walk and Roll Live have been born with it or had it the majority of their life. You know, especially the years that their memory goes back to. You know, myself. You know, I got polio at a year old, so I know nothing different, right? So
same.
So maybe So you're right in that kind of that category. So maybe you can kind of first of all maybe help us and educate our listeners a little bit about what spina bifida is.
So spina bifida develops in the first week of pregnancy. So most women don't even know that they're pregnant at that time. There are, from my understanding, two possible reasons that you can get spina bifida. The more common accepted reason is lack of folic acid in the mom. And this has to be done before pregnancy, before you're even thinking about getting pregnant. That is one of the reasons. And then another reason could be genetics. Within my family, we're not exactly sure what the cause was. Both my parents report to me that they had siblings that passed away at birth, but they don't know what the cause of those things happening. So it could have been spina bifida, it could have been something completely different. Also, I've heard that you can get spina bifida through one of the parents being exposed to chemicals like the Agent Orange back in Vietnam. I have a couple friends who they've told me that that's the cause of their spina bifida.
Yeah. Do you know? And I don't want to put you on the spot, you know, and know all the stats, but unless I want to, you know, I don't want to put you on the spot. But I'm just curious if you know, has the statistics, have they dropped off over the years? You know, because like, you know, you've identified kind of what one of the causes is. Do they counsel women to make sure their folic acid is, you know, up before they get pregnant, that kind of thing?
Again, I don't know the exact statistics, but I do believe that, especially within the Hispanic community, I think those numbers have improved because through the CDC, they have put folic acid in almost everything nowadays. With spina bifida, it's very important for the mom especially to eat their greens. We actually have a joke when we get together within my group of spina bifida friends that when one of us orders a salad, we say to them, "Why are you ordering a salad? It's too late."
That's funny. Oh, that's good. Oh, man. Disabled humor. I love it.
I am probably going to be one of your most politically incorrect guests when it comes to disability. I'm going to try and control myself. I'd like to be back on your show one day for another episode. So, but yeah, that's one of the jokes that we say. All
right. Well, I'll be on my toes. I look forward to it.
You got to show me how to do that.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for that. Oh, man. So there's a couple of different ways, things I want to ask, and I don't know which order I want to ask them in. But, you know, I want to, first of all, I guess, how did that affect you? Because I imagine there's kind of different outcomes for different people that have spina bifida, right?
Spina bifida has been known as the snowflake disease because there are not two cases that are exactly alike. And in my case, that is for sure true because I've never met anyone who has had the amount of surgeries that I have had. Now, my number for surgeries is approximate. It is with talking with both my parents and my wife. There are many things that I don't remember that have happened, and I've asked both my parents and my wife to clarify things for me, and I'll explain later why my wife has had to clarify things for me. But my approximation is around 60 surgical procedures from head to toe. And most of those were planned procedures.
Okay.
And, I look back at my surgeries, and I don't know how anyone else feels, but for me, I think I would go, if I could go back, I wouldn't do any of my surgeries except for my shunt surgeries
Really?
that were necessary for me to live.
So what were the surgeries for then? To do
Orthopedic surgeries,
Yeah.
knee and ankle surgeries to make corrections when my legs were pointing out, or knee flexion contractures. I had a spinal cord surgery, not just the one at birth, but later on in life for a tethered cord procedure. And the biggest thing, Doug, I'm not sure about you, but in my case, my weakness was not wanting to walk. I walked with leg braces and crutches until about the age of 15, but for me, walking was not that big of a deal. What I would call weakness was urinary and bowel incontinence. I just had this mentality as a kid. You don't want to be wearing diapers and catheterizing. That makes you really different. And it was almost like a tortured childhood for myself, in that once people did find out, other kids, yes, there were kids that made fun of the situation, but most of what I would call friends, they accepted the situation better than I did. It was really actually kind of surprising for me. And the urologic surgeries are the ones that I really regret the most, in all honesty.
I don't, without getting into all of the details of that. So you feel like if you hadn't had them, your quality of life wouldn't be less at this point. Is that safe to say? Or?
Correct.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I would have saved myself other surgeries that needed to be done in the end to save my life.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Because those planned procedures turned out incorrectly, and I've always known, even when I was a child, a teenager, I was always very involved in my own care. I asked questions. My parents spoke very little English, so I was really the interpreter in the room. And you can imagine being the interpreter and the patient in the room, and not knowing all of that medical terminology at 14, 15 years of age. And so I always asked the questions, and the doctors were always very impressed with how I would ask the questions. And many times, though, they didn't want to respond to me because I was a kid. Why are they going to? And my response to them, I remember clearly being 14, 15 years old. I'm the one going through the surgery. You need to answer my questions.
Yeah, good for you.
My parents may have been the one signing, but I was the one going through the procedures.
Well, that's very impressive because, I tell the story from time to time. One of the procedures that I had, because I walked for probably better part of 50 years before I started even transitioning into the wheelchair, and I got around very well, but when I was a kid and I started with 2 full braces, and then it got to a point where, and going back, you talk about the snowflake, I think a lot of disabilities are that way. Like my brother and I both had polio, but we were similar but different, in that, we both kind of had the same level of paralysis, but, my dominant side was right, his dominant side was left, his dominant side was a bit more useful, let's say. But so one of these surgeries that I had after I got rid of the full brace, and I got a half brace, right, on the right leg. And so they could get rid of that brace, they fused my ankle. And I wasn't like you. I wasn't involved in all of this, or unlike you, I wasn't involved in any of this to the point where, I go to the hospital to have these, I didn't even know at the time, to have pins put in to fuse it. So we get to the doctor's office to have those removed. And I kind of overhear my mom and the doctor talking about removing these pins from my foot. And then I'm like, what? And then I kind of tune in and like, what's going on? A pin? What pin? Is it going to hurt? And the doctor said, well, you tell me, the first one's already out. So I was not involved, as you can tell. So that's good for you. Good for you. And that's going to serve you your whole life.
Yes. Yeah. I have had many opportunities throughout my life to be a mentor to other kids with spina bifida, and that is one of my pet peeves with their parents, is that they don't involve them in their care. I've led support groups for kids and parents with spina bifida, and I think one of the reasons they got frustrated with me is because I would say to them, so what is this child going to do when you are no longer around?
It's exactly what I was thinking. You're not going to be around to care for them the rest of their life.
And I have never met anyone with any type of a disability who is not more capable of doing things than what society tells them that they are capable of doing. With me, Doug, you're going to get the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like I said in our email, I have stories for days, and some of the decisions that were made in my healthcare, especially as a child and young adult, they were made out of wanting acceptance.
From your standpoint. From my,
right? Yes.
Yeah. And totally, understandable at that age. Like you said, we're just hypersensitive to all those things as a kid. We don't want to be different, We say we do a lot of times, we'll kind of say, I'm unique, but when it comes right down to it, everybody's got the same shoes. Everybody wants the same backpack, whatever it is in school.
Yeah,
they don't want to stand out. And the ones that stand out are the ones that everybody calls weird, so yeah, there's no benefit to it. So not unheard of. Like I said, when I was having the shunt surgeries, those were obvious. Yeah. They needed to be done to save my life. Yeah. But the orthopedic surgeries, for example, as a kid, I always noticed that my inability to walk was the biggest issue or obstacle within both my family and society. And so the orthopedic surgeries, I did them. I accepted them because in my mind, I was going to be cured within my situation. I was going to be walking. What I failed to understand as a 12, 13-year-old kid was that not only did I need these surgeries, but I needed to do the physical therapy follow-up that insurance was not going to cover. So I had to be doing this on my own or with my family. And of course, they have jobs. My parents struggled, making a living. So it was really supposed to be all on me. And as a 12, 13, 14-year-old kid, you don't really fully understand that. So on one hand, they don't want to involve you in your, you had to be an advocate for yourself to be involved in your care. But on the other hand, they look to you to, your post-surgery care to be the leader of that.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
And in 1993, I had, let me go back. Before that, in 1991, there was a knee surgery that was not covered by my parents' insurance here in the U.S. So my parents, thinking that, not fully understanding that my problem was neurologic and not just orthopedic, they take me to El Salvador, where we're from. And in El Salvador, they could pay for this procedure outright on their own. It was the surgery for the knee flexion contractures. And Doug, what I am going to tell you, I am not kidding, exaggerating, or making it up. Very few people believe me, but this doctor cut me while I was still awake. And when I tell you still awake, I mean they had not started the anesthesia.
Yeah, no anesthetic at all.
Once he realized what he did, he had me knocked out for, I think, about 5-6 days, so that when I woke up and say, hey, this guy cut me while I was still awake, he could easily say, oh, that's just the medicine talking. And so the surgery was on the back of my knees, and so I was face down on the surgery table, and I noticed that he came in without wearing the surgical booties, and I noticed his shoes that they were alligator skin, and I just thought to myself, that's fair. That I was 11 years oldish,
and imagine you've had enough surgeries by now that you're. To somebody who's had their first surgery would probably never notice those kinds of things. But you've, at this point, gone through enough surgeries that those little nuances you're noticing.
Yeah. And I noticed that, and I closed my eyes just out of fear, I would imagine. And the next thing I know is I feel the cut on the back of my knees, and I just remember, can't tell you what I yelled, but I remember yelling, and I hear him say in Spanish, knock him out, knock him out. I thought he was asleep, knock him out. And he knocks me out. I wake up a few days later, and of course, first thing I say to my parents, this guy knocked me out. This guy knocked me out. And I said, he was wearing those alligator shoes, alligator skin shoes, and my parents, of course, 11 years old. They say there's no way that this could have happened. Yeah. And the guy, sure enough, says, "Oh no, he is the medicine talking. We had to give him a lot of medicine, and sure enough, that's what he said."
Yeah.
When it came time to take off my cast, he cut me again, but this time it was in the presence of my parents with the cast saw. And many people say, but the cast saw doesn't cut. This is El Salvador.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember my first experience with the cast saw. If anybody hasn't been through that, the noise it makes, and you see a blade and all that, you don't understand as a kid that it's just vibrating baback and forth. It's not spinning. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But when he took my leg out of the cast, sure enough, it wasn't a big cut, but there was a cut there.
You don't want any.
Yeah, and so then that's when my parents said, "Oh, maybe this really did happen."
Yeah.
Fast forward a year and a half later, that procedure didn't work for me, and I needed to have the knee flexion contracture surgeries again. This time, now being covered by insurance, and I also needed the ankle surgery to correct the outward, how my ankles were turned outward, and I have this procedure at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, where I actually now work, and I've worked there for 23 years now. I'll get into that.
Yeah, I'm going to let you finish this part of it, but I want to tell you, with 60 surgeries, we can spend all day, looking at that. And this gives us some context, but I definitely want to get into more about, the experiences in your life, because I think we got some good stuff there. So, finish that.
So, Doug, I'm in the cast room at the hospital, and this was my first experience since the previous experience in El Salvador. And this was right after the Northridge earthquake. I had been in the cast for 3 months, And during that earthquake, and this is all relevant, I promise. That night, I decided to sleep on the floor because I was in long leg cast and my back was hurting. I slept next to a huge dresser drawer, and in order for that dresser drawer not to land on me during the earthquake, I had to use all of my strength so that it landed on the opposite side. And so after the earthquake, even though I have no sensation in my feet or very limited sensation, I felt a burning sensation. And everyone's, oh, it's just a surgery healing. It's just a surgery healing. Fast forward to being in the cast room. And again, in my mind, after this knee and ankle surgery, I'm going to walk. I'm going to be cured. The cast guy, we had told him what happened in El Salvador with the cast saw, and he's telling me nothing's going to happen here. And he goes along my knee where I had told him that the doctor in El Salvador had cut me, and I'm laying down in my bed as in the hospital bed, and he says, "Look, blood." And I sit up, and he says, "Just kidding." And he said, "Just kidding."
He did not.
He did too. Doug, he takes my leg out, and the incision in my ankle had opened up to the size of the palm of my hand.
Jeez.
I ended up being in a cast for a year and a half straight,
just to deal with that surgery. And you would think in America, you'd maybe have a little better level of competency than El Salvador. So I get now. I'm starting to figure out why you're thinking maybe all those surgeries weren't necessary. I wouldn't repeat that. Yeah, I can imagine. So I want to go kind of back a little bit and just find out how your experience, Eddie, through your life. How do you feel like it affected, I guess is the word, as you're growing up and you're going to school and all those things. Like I was saying, we have people on this show that come to it later in life, young adults, mid-adults, older adults even. And, they go through that transition. We didn't have to go through that transition, but there's still experiences that kind of shape you. You alluded to the way people were treating you in school and, some good, some bad. But I think everybody going through school goes through some of that, right?
For sure. My parents took me out of special ed in the second grade, and I'm going to use a very strong word, I hated them for it, especially my dad. He was the main proponent of me going into mainstream, and I could not understand at the time why he would take me out of special ed when in special ed I was the leader. I was number one. And in the mainstream, I was the last at everything, last at finishing tests, last in PE, in recess, kids would call me RoboCop because I had leg braces that went all the way up to my waist. And I would tell them, I remember being second, third grade, why? And my dad said to me, "Son, you don't have any issues in terms of your brain. You are a great learner. You're very smart, and this world is very cruel. And you need to understand that if you're going to live in the real world is not made up of compassionate people who are ready to be there at any notice. You have to realize that you need to fend for yourself."
Good for Dad. Absolutely. And that had to be tough for him to do, to you.
All the way up to the age of 23, I had a healthy balance of my mom being the overprotective one and my dad being the one that said, "Nope, go conquer the world, go do what you got to do." But then an event happened in 2023 where they have both become super overprotective, and I'm in my 40s and a happily married man.
Things can always change, right?
What was that?
God bless you, Eddie.
Thank you.
So you now agree with that decision? I imagine, as tough as it was.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I've had the opportunity to lead groups and to talk to parents and kids, and I tell them, even if their kids have learning difficulties, I have learning. One of the aspects of spina bifida that people don't know about or don't notice because you don't see it is I have many learning disabilities, especially with math and numbers and comprehension. And so you learn to navigate and live your life around those issues, but it's still very difficult. And you hope and pray to God that people don't notice how much you're struggling with it. Some of the most basic tasks, I have a lot of difficulty, and not because I don't have the strength, but I have a lot of difficulty with knots, with untying stuff. There's a minuscule task at my job that one of my supervisors has me do it every now and again, and it's just inserting these tabs into these tab holders. And I'm sure that any of my other colleagues that have to do this can do this within 5 minutes or so. It takes me easily over an hour to do this minuscule task.
Now, have you ever asked your supervisor if he's doing that on purpose?
No. I know they're not.
Yeah.
I know they're. It's something that needs to be done, and it's a part of my job. That's one of the many reasons I love my job, is because the expectation is there. People have, society in general has no expectation of people with disabilities, even in this day and age in 2024. It blows my mind.
Can we talk a little bit about that specifically, Eddie? Because, that's something that we kind of touched upon it a little bit last week with Rebecca. And and it may sound odd, and it sounds like, I know you'll agree with me and you get it, but you're drawn to people like that who have expectations of you, that they don't coddle you. And maybe coddle is even too strong of a word, but you feel it all the time where people are, man, I am repelled by people who try to help me too much.
Yeah.
I understand the need, and there's an amount that a lot of people do unintentionally or, whatever, but those people that just treat you whatever, they expect you to, get that, bring that over here to me, it's like, I love those people. So I'll let you talk about that.
I'll give you an example. Remember how I told you that I had a healthy balance of go get 'em and overprotectiveness?
Mm-hmm.
My mom was the overprotective one that had no expectations of me because of everything that I've been through in my life. She wanted to make my life as easy as possible, which sounds great when you are a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid not wanting to do chores.
Mm-hmm.
But then you become a happily married man, and your spouse has this expectation of you washing your own dishes, of you helping around the house. And I had no idea how to clean a toilet. And so you're doing a disservice to your child if you have no expectations of them. And if you, as the person that knows them the best, has no expectations of them, what is society going to expect of them?
Or that child. The child ends up not having any expectations for themselves.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
You know what bothers me, Eddie, is, I don't know about your workplace, but I know I've worked in a few places. They put those posters up, that have a nice photograph, and then it'll have a saying on there that says, reach for the reach for the stars and if you don't make it, you'll reach the moon. But that concept is never applied to us.
Correct.
They don't. I mean, the idea behind that saying is to overextend. Have higher expectations, and even if you don't make those expectations, you'll land on something that's a pretty high achievement, right? Yeah. But you're depriving us of that by not having those high expectations.
I have many what I call Eddieisms, and one of them is that my 100% effort is the world's 50% effort. And what I mean by that is, for example, so I work at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, and my official title is that of a nurse's aide, but I am not a nurse's aide. You don't want me taking care of your patients, although I have said to my management, because I have a very irrational fear of being let go of my job because of my disability. So I have said to my management, if you need me to change a diaper, you just let me know where the diapers are.
I'm there.
I'm there happily. But that is my official title. But what I really do is clerical work. I am the one that says Dr. Vincent to 606, but not for the whole hospital, just for my unit. Or when you press that red call light button, I'm the one that says, can I help you? That I have other behind the scene tasks, but that's what I'm famous for.
Gotcha.
And, there are certain things that need to be done within my job. And on the occasion that I get the opportunity to train someone new at my job, there's a certain task that I start 3 hours before it really needs to be done. And especially the younger kids, or younger because they're in their 20s, and I've been there longer than they've been alive, and they'll say, "Why do you start so?" Because you never know what's going to happen in between, and in my case, it takes me twice as long to do something that it will take someone without a disability.
Yeah. Well, I had a high school kid when I was at the radio station up north, and his parents asked if he could come in and kind of do an internship with me. And I said, yeah. So, I kind of started with tasks that would be an entry-level type tasks, kind of mundane things, filing things, that kind of thing. Well, come to find out, he was asking for help amongst the other staff. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I says, if you're gonna come to a job and have to ask your coworkers to do things for you, what's the point of having you? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And I understand that you can't do it maybe as quickly as somebody else, but part of the experience is you have to learn and problem solve how you're going to get it done. And like you say, his 100% is going to be 50% from anybody else, but you're going to own that 100% for yourself. You're going to get the job done. It might take you a little longer, but that's what's going to serve you well the rest of your life, in my humble opinion.
It's taken me 23 years to say that I am good at my job, to accept any compliments that I get at my job. There are certain accolades that they have, at any job, and they have them at my job.
Recording stopped.
I don't do my job for the accolades. I don't want to hear, oh, you did fantastic. My job is, for someone else, an average job, probably not a job that they want to stay 23 years at. But in my case, I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I'm going to show you that you did not make a mistake when you hired me. People look at me as an affirmative action hire, even to this day. And once they see my work ethic and what I am capable of, oh, okay, and I think that's what my first manager. Doug, I grew up on the unit.
I was going to ask you to go into the story because I heard this at the wheelchair support group. So yeah, how did you find your way into your position? That's worth telling.
So I was raised at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. I can pretty much say that I have spent more time at Children's Hospital Los Angeles than I have any other place, whether it be home. I'm very active in my church. I have spent more time at Children's Hospital than anywhere else. And my manager that hired me and my manager that I have now, they've known me since I was about 10 years old. And when I was a kid, I never liked to play with other little kids. I didn't like watching cartoons. I didn't like playing with toys. I liked hanging out with older people around the nurses station with the nurses. And they would. This was before HIPAA. They would have me behind the nurses station, and they'd let me answer the call light, and and I'd hear things. And so my manager, when I turned 18, said, "Hey, do you want a part-time job?" And I said, "Let me try this college thing out first. Let's see how that goes, and maybe in the future." 2 years later, college was not for me. School was not for me. I never, because I missed so much school as a kid, I never got those study habits that you need to prosper in your education. So I said, "Hey, does that job offer still stand?" And she says, "Sure." Doug, I am not kidding you. I did not think I would last a week. I didn't. One of the tasks, this was back in 2001. One of the tasks at the time was it was my responsibility to enter doctor's orders. Have you ever seen doctor's writing?
Yeah.
I have bad writing, but I'm not a doctor. And they make my writing look spectacular.
So you had to read that writing?
Read that writing and enter it into the computer system. And I tell you, if that system was still around, I would not be. I was so grateful when we had an all-computer system. Everything had to be in. If it's not in the computer, it didn't happen, because that made it so that I did not have to read that doctor's writing. I was terrible. My job was so patient with me. It's only by the grace of God that I survived that. I remember one time coming home and telling my dad, "I'm quitting. I'm done. I can't do this anymore." And my dad says, "No, you are not quitting. You cannot go back on the SSI check because that is not going to be enough for you to survive in the future. We are not always going to be here." He says, "If they let you go, then they let you go. But you can say that you have that work experience now, but you will not quit." 23 years later, I'm still there.
Good for you. Good for Dad. Good for the hospital, in giving you that opportunity, and I'm sure they don't regret it one moment.
I hope not.
Yeah. It's funny. In doing this show, there's similarities and in so many different people that I interview. And right there, one was when you were talking about you wanted to hang out with older people. And when I was a kid and going through my surgeries, I got for probably the last one that I had, I was teenager, 13, somewhere in there. And I remember thinking, I'm an adult now. I don't want to go and be in the pediatrics ward. I want to be with, and they did it. I was, they granted my wish, and it was kind of funny because once I got there, man, the old people were boring. I regretted my decision, but I thought of myself as older, and and not just that, but just, wanted to, I think I was relating more to older folks at that time, so.
That's how I am these days, Doug. Even though I'm in my early 30s, I consider myself, older, especially up here, the way I talk and the way I think. And like Eddie, I had a mom who sheltered me, but I wasn't really for that. And then I wish I had a dad to tell me, reach for the stars, go out there and spread your wings. But the community center I started out in early on in my career, it got me started in life. And I wasn't really, a big fan of college, but like Eddie, I gained a lot more out of the workforce than I would if I went to college.
Yeah. Yep. Never too late.
Doug, what you said about wanting to go to the adult unit as a patient, I am 44 years old, and if it were up to me, I would actually still be a full-time patient at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. Let me tell you why. My coworkers say it's because I like being spoiled. That is not the case. The issue is that in adult care, you are just a number.
Yeah.
And in a pediatric setting, you are more than a number. You are, some people may say spoiled. I say you are actually treated like a human being.
Yeah. I tell people that all the time, Eddie, and it sounds like you'll back it up. When people complain about the kind of care they get in the medical field, whether it's their doctor or hospital, I say, these people do this every single day. Say you're having a heart procedure. They've seen hundreds of heart procedures. There's no humanity to it for them anymore. And probably except for some extraordinary people who can still hang on to that humanity. But I'm just saying that's their widget. That's their thing that they do every day. Whatever your job is, if you're a fixing fenders on cars, and you've seen hundreds, if not thousands of fenders, you don't get emotionally involved in the fender. And unfortunately, in the medical field, that's kind of the way it is, right? I mean, this has just been my theory, but you probably can confirm that or not.
I agree. The most recent hospitalization that I had was a very new event for me. And I knew the steps that needed to be taken in order to identify the situation. And the doctor says to me, well, we have to go through standard protocol. And I said, I am not your standard patient. And it really irritates me in the adult healthcare system where they say, well, you have an appendix problem where this is, and I understand that there are protocols, but treat the individual, not the illness or disease.
Well, at the very least, listen to what they have to say.
Yes. And in this situation that I was telling you about, they went through steps A, B, C, and D. And when I told them D is going to get you the best answer, and sure enough, it was D. And they only went to step D when I threw what I call an adult temper tantrum.
Yeah. Good for you. That's what you got to do. Listen, I've got another interview coming in here in just a little bit, so I don't want to, scoot you out the door too quickly. But I do want to kind of learn a little bit, and maybe you can tell us about life now and what you hope for the future.
I am happily married, almost 16 years now. My wife is a chef, so I will not die of hunger. My mom likes to tell a story that I did not meet a vegetable until I met my wife, because she's the one that gets me to eat my vegetables. I was listening to your previous podcast, and I was thinking about that question about previous or future goals. Right now in my 40s, life is pretty good I've started with the adaptive sports, and I play, right now with the Los Angeles Chargers wheelchair football team. By the way, I'm a Raider fan playing for the Chargers wheelchair football team.
I'm a Raider fan, and I'll still root for you for
same.
Yeah, because you're doing good shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in terms of my goals, I'm really enjoying life right now. I'm looking for a way to retire at 44 and just pursue this wheelchair athletics career of mine. So if you have any ideas, I'd really appreciate it.
All right. We'll definitely keep that in mind. Well, it comes across, I just love every bit of your story. I think that I'm glad you're out there doing mentoring, and not only for the kids, but for the parents, because, that's what I think saved me. My imagine back in the 50s, that's a pre-dawn age of any kind of, advocacy for the disabled. And, it was just a nurse that pulled my dad aside and said, don't do for these kids, me and my brother, they have to treat them like you would treat your other kids. And that's what they did, and it served me well my entire life. And it sounds like you got a good dose of that, and you're sending that message forward every day. It sounds like by the example you are, and the mentoring that you do, and you're touching lives every day. It sounds like so. Keep it up, and thank you for being on the show here with us on Walk and Roll Live.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Eric.
Oh yeah.
And now we're going to turn to Miss Betty Volk with the Volunteers for Veterans Foundation. Thank you for joining us today on Walk and Roll Live.
Thank you for inviting us. I truly appreciate the honor of being able to be here today.
Well, we've thought about having you on for a long time, but I figured this would be a good time. We want to hear about what you do, the work you do with the Volunteers for Veterans, but also you have a big show coming up, so we want to hear about that. But first, let's tell everybody what we do with and I've mentioned it a number of times on this show, so they know I'm a volunteer, I'm on the board, and that kind of thing, full transparency. So what do we do? You're the engine behind it all.
We do everything.
Yeah.
We support all of California. We are not an out-of-state foundation. We help our veterans with everyday needs. That's everything that you and I take for granted on a daily basis. You get a flat tire, you run and get it fixed, or you buy a new one. They get a flat tire. These are low-income to no-income veterans that we are assisting. There's not extra $100 laying around somewhere to buy a new tire. So if we're called upon to make that happen, that's what we do. We'll do probably just about anything to help a veteran. And we are not any greater than any other foundation. The biggest difference is that we move really fast. So you are a veteran, and tomorrow your electricity is going to get turned off. And you go to the VA, you talk to a caseworker, they establish there is a need. They give me the documentation that shows there is a need. I can go online that day and I can pay your Edison bill. So you and your family, and especially if you have children, won't have to have a day without electricity. And then we just move forward. I am a big believer in giving back our veterans their dignity and honoring them on a daily basis the way that we all should.
If I may jump in here, that's one of the things that whenever I talk about Volunteers for Veterans and the work that we do, that's one of the main things I always mention is the quickness that we can get something done. And many times, if they may have benefits that would also take care of whatever their issue is, but they need it today, or they need it, within the next 24, 48 hours. And the other organizations, a lot of times it's government organizations, so they don't move that fast, but we can do that.
Yes, we do. Yeah. And I just got a phone call today for a co-payment of $5,600. A veteran needs jaw surgery, and that's his copay. So his son reached out to me, and I said to him, well, listen, let's figure out, number one, where is this happening? Is it at the VA? Is it a private sector? What is going on? Our limit to each individual veteran, without me going to my board, is $3,000. I said, sure, I can take up to 3 right now, but let me know, give me some answers. And I gave him a list of questions, and let me go to my meeting. And when I get out, I'll find some stuff. So as I'm sitting there at this meeting, I'm busy Googling. I send him a few links, and he tells me that his father already found another group that will cover the whole $5,600, which is fabulous. Hopefully it wasn't at the VA and it couldn't get covered through them. But at least he's getting taken care of.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, if no one had been able to cover the additional $2,600, somehow, some way, the surgery would have happened on Friday. We would have maybe got board approval for the additional funding or however. But my veteran who came to me, who is the son of another veteran, was so excited that we had at least taken that off their plate. It's going to happen one way or another, but before we sign a check for $5,600, let's figure out who else's pennies we can use before we use ours.
Yeah.
Because every penny that I spend somewhere is another penny I can't help another veteran with. Yeah. So lo and behold, he's going to have his surgery. Everything's taken care of, and life is good for this family.
So those are the things that we can do quickly, and it's kind of case by case, and you decipher whether it's something you're going to do or we can do. But there's things that we do ongoing. So maybe we could talk a little bit about the Veterans Pantry.
We do the pantry, and Doug is a fabulous board member and volunteer. On a weekly basis, we both participate in Loma Linda Veterans Village Pantry program. We could not do what we do without all of our great supporters of our pantry. Redlands Elks is a great supporter. AmVets Post 77 just gave us $500 in gift cards for Costco that we'll be buying product this week for. It's amazing. American Legion 421 is a big supporter. I can call them at any time and say, hey, I need, and it happens. Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 47, fabulous partner, has helped me personally create a pantry at March Veterans Village for our foundation. And I can say about 3 other locations. They're always willing to go with me, help me set it up, figure out how we're going to do it. We provide milk and eggs on a weekly basis to 5 total donation locations. So that's always great. We purchase items from Good 360, which is a wonderful website that allows nonprofits to purchase items for. We were just able to give away Vans shoes right before Christmas. I ordered a run of 2 boxes of every different size groups. You don't get to pick the size. You don't get to pick the style. But we were able to give out 6 or 8 cases of Vans, and each pair, if you figure it out, only cost me $9.20. Wow. And they were pretty nice looking Vans. Yeah, some of them were a little on the crazy side.
But some people love those too.
Loved them. Yeah, it's crazy, And this week, what we're trying to do on a monthly basis is every first of the month, we're either going to give out paper products, we're going to give hygiene items, we're going to give cleaning supplies, and then we just make that a rotation. Yes, those things are available during the month, but it's nice for them to know that this is the month we can go down and get toilet paper, paper towels, paper plates, napkins, and everything, Kleenex. And this week, we're going to be blessed to receiving a donation from Santa Claus Incorporated of 5 pallets of paper goods. So this week is actually the first of the month. We're going to be doing hygiene items. But because I know toilet paper is a real specialty, they'll also get toilet paper because I'll hold off on the other paper products till next month. It's the first of the month. I love what we do. And I could not do what I do on a daily basis without the support of all of our supporters, the backing of my board. I am so lucky that they allow me to be the voice and the face of our foundation. And it is my honor to represent Volunteers for Veterans Foundation and also to be an advocate for every veteran that is out there. Even the ones that are out of state, if I get an out-of-state call, I just don't tell them, oh, sorry, I can't help you. I'll ask, what is your need? What are you looking for? Oh, by the way, I happen to have a contact in that area. I have some phone numbers to give you. And if I don't, then I'll sit on the computer talking to them, trying to figure out how I can help them help themselves in a different area. And lo and behold, I would say 75% of the time we can find somebody for them. We also have another program where we receive cars as donations, and the donor directly gives that car to the veteran as a gift. We're doing that, picking up a car on Friday. We'll hopefully make the presentation one day next week, because when we pick up the car, I take it to a local mechanic, Velman's Automotive Center in Rialto, who will go through the car for us at no charge. If he has to do any work, he gives us a great deal on it. I'm going to have him smog this car because I know it needs to be smogged. And whatever minor issues that need to be taken care of will be taken care of. And we will be presenting this car to a veteran at Loma Linda Veterans Village, hopefully next week. So that's always a fun thing to do. Sometimes we'll give them gift cards, or we'll help with maybe 6 months worth of insurance, or help with the registration if there need be. We just don't say, here's the keys, goodbye. I want to make sure that we're not causing them a financial hardship by gifting them with a car.
Yeah.
So if we pay 6 months worth of car insurance, that gives them 6 months to save up money to start doing a monthly bill. So
very nice. So those are, really kind of scratching the surface to some degree on what we do. And I'm sure you're presented with new challenges that, somebody needs something that you haven't run across, but you figure it out. So that's amazing. So let's get to the fun stuff. What's coming up on September 21st?
Well, we are doing, for the first time, we are hosting a comedy show. And the great thing about this, that the comedians are all veterans. I went out of the area to an event in Oceanside and sat in this audience and decided right then and there, I want to do this. It could be a fundraiser. That would be nice. And if it's not, that's okay, but we're going to do this. If I can get enough people to cover, sponsor, donate the cost, and we don't lose our shirt, I would consider myself lucky. We are being able to provide tickets to low-income or no-income veterans who live at veterans villages to attend this event, to go out, have a nice dinner, sit and enjoy being away from your village, forgetting about everyday needs or wants or problems, and laughing. And I can guarantee you there is going to be humor there that someone that is not a veteran like myself will not get. But the audience who are veterans, you can see they're going to hear it, and they're going to giggle when you're not giggling because you don't get that joke. So I'm really, really excited about it. I'm hoping that we make a small profit and that it can grow and we can end up having a yearly event. But again, this project is not possible without sponsorships. KW Wealth came on as our platinum sponsor. We have Working Dogs for Warrior, Patriots in Paws, Vietnam Veterans of America Chapter 47 is the gold sponsor, Serenity Lodge, Special Angels Foundation, Patriots in Paws, Redlands Elks is our dessert sponsor, and our venue supporter is San Bernardino Elks.
Very nice. So this is kind of a show your appreciation to the vets night as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And another gold sponsor is the National Truck Show, which not only helps sponsor this event, the weekend before, we will be at Grand National Truck Show, where a team of pinstripers will do pinstriping on just about anything there is. Mm-hmm. And then it will be auctioned off. Last year was the first year that we were blessed to be the recipient of this great event. And for 2 days, we ended up netting $28,000. And they told me that's a small amount of money that normally comes from the big show, which is a hot roaster show in January. We're doing that the weekend before our show, and it is amazing. These pinstripers. Last year, I took a little pocket knife that had our logo and information on one side, and the other side was plain. I took that as a gift to give to the pinstripers for doing what they do. Oh, guess what? They pinstriped those knives and they sold them for $15 a piece. It was amazing. We are blessed in so many ways. Stater Brothers Charity granted us $50,000 this year. And we have so many individuals that sponsor us or help us financially throughout the year. We are also sponsored by Charity Auto Donation, who across the United States receives cars in our name. And yes, I'm sure they're making money, but they send us a check every month for our percentage. And this partnership has enabled us to not only do the necessary things. I call these the fluff. Somebody needs a bicycle. We can buy a bicycle.
The quality of life kind of thing.
There you go. Thank you, Dougie. One of the more craziest things we've ever done as a foundation is we got a phone call from the VA that we had a veteran who needed life-changing surgery that could not be done here in Loma Linda. It had to be done at a different location out of state. And he was not going to go because he didn't want to board his cat. So we bought a gift card for the airline. The veteran was able to buy the cat could fly. I called the hotel. We paid the fee for the cat to live there for a week, and we were able to help a veteran. So those are some of the odd things that we do. There are numerous of them. I got a phone call. We had a veteran up the hill who had to get down to RVA to go into treatment. He agreed to it. He was down the hill, and another caseworker met him down here and brought him to the VA. So it happens, but sometimes it takes a little bit of effort and a little bit of
creativity, right?
Definitely, and again, as a foundation, we are blessed that we have what I call a village of supporters. These are other nonprofits that if we can't make it happen, 5 to 1, we're going to find somebody out there that can partner with us and make this a reality for someone.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up with on that note. If somebody wants to help in any way, if they want to be a volunteer, if they want to be a financial supporter, if they want to donate something, where do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can always call me. You can call me at 909-350-9816. That is the foundation's telephone number. You can email me at 14V as in Victor, F as in Frank, V as in Victor, F as in Frank, at gmail.com. You can also go to our website and you can make a donation right through there, which is vfvfoundation.com.
And they are also on our resources page on Walk and Roll Live. So if you can't remember all that, just go to our events page. Or not our events page, but our resources page. And then also we'll put the event on September 21st at the Elks Lodge in San Bernardino, the comedy show and dinner and a wonderful night of fun with fellow veterans. We'll put that on our events page as well.
Thank you, Doug. I really appreciate the honor to be here today and speaking with you. And a little side note, if I forgot any of our sponsors, I apologize right now. Know that I love you all, and we could not do what we do without all of you. Thank you for your time, Dougie, for letting us be here. And thank you to the general community for always supporting our veterans. Thank you so much.
Glad to have you.
Rock and roll live. Live.
Tuned in to Walk and Roll Live podcast. Such a refreshing perspective on life and disability. Love it.
Every episode brings a new story that's both inspiring and eye-opening. Can't get enough.
The hosts make you feel like you're part of a genuine conversation. Walk and Roll Live is my weekly dose of positivity.
Walk and Roll Live is a game changer. It's not just about disabilities. It's about embracing life's challenges with a smile. Highly recommend.
My go-to podcast for real, unfiltered conversations. It's like having a cup of coffee with friends who share incredible stories.
Walk and Roll Live.
Welcome to Walk and Roll Live with Doug Vincent and Eric Aguilar. And they're so happy for your life. And they're so fine.
As we wrap up Walk and Roll Live for another week, I got to talk about any events that we have coming up. There's a number of new things that I've added to the events page. We talked with Betty about the comedy show for veterans, from veterans, and at the Elks Lodge with dinner and all that good stuff. All that information is up on the events page, along with some other things. I know I just got another email from Mike Rosenkrantz, and they've always got something going at SoCal Adaptive Sports. So we'll be adding anything that seems like it's of note to our events page as well. Or definitely can go to their website on our resources page and check for yourself. They're changing all the time, adding things. Things are happening and going by the wayside, so new things are happening. So check that out there. And I think that is kind of it, really, right? Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Doug Vincent, with Eric Aguilar from the Aguilar Professional Training Studio. This has been Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories, Life Limitless.
Walk and Roll Live. Life's the best. Walk and Roll Live. Life limitless.
In the digital dawn where voices unite, Walk and Roll Live, a guiding light, a platform vibrant, a beacon strong, for the disabled community to belong. Shared narratives, weave stories untold, in conversations deep, hearts unfold. Healing finds home, camaraderie's embrace. Walk and Roll Live, a sacred space. Empowerment's anthem, awareness call, inclusivity's banner, standing tall. Trusted source we stand, providers aligned, for unity's dance and hearts entwined. Trials and triumphs, tales we share, strength and vulnerability we dare. From every corner, voices arise. In Walk and Roll Live, our spirits fly. Shared narratives, weave stories untold, in conversations deep, hearts unfold. Healing finds home, camaraderie's embrace. Walk and Roll Live, a sacred space. Empowerment's anthem, awareness call, inclusivity's banner, standing tall. Trusted source we stand, providers aligned, for unity's dance and hearts entwined. Through trials faced and mountains climbed, and unity's embraced. embrace, hope we find from every walk and every roll. Walk and roll life, a beacon's roll. Empowerment's anthem, awareness call, inclusivity's banner, standing tall.